Hi, this is Mike from Mike's Unboxing Reviews and How To, and on today's video we're taking a look at the build that we've completed for Colin Hilton, a very good friend of the channel. Colin was 80 years young back in December of 2023, and it's taken us a little while to get this build put together, assembling the parts and finding the right time to buy things. But finally, it is all done. We've transferred over some of his older parts into this new build, so we've done somewhat of a platform upgrade. So let's go ahead and first of all introduce the parts of the new platform. So to start off with, we've got the Intel i9 13900K processor. What an absolute beast this is. And this has gone in very nicely on the MSI Z790 Carbon WiFi motherboard. Originally, it was going to be scheduled to be having a different board, the MSI Z790 Tomahawk, but for whatever reason it was, Colin decided to go with the Carbon Wi-Fi, and actually I think it is the better choice. It is a far more expensive board, but it should have a little bit more longevity with the absolutely wild VRM setup of 19+1+1, all with 105 amp chokes. So even though the 13900K is going to try and consume as much power as it possibly can, the motherboard is going to be right there behind it trying to help it along. Other parts that have been used in this particular build, so in terms of the cooler, which you can possibly see already because it's a somewhat large beastie. So we're looking at the Deepcool Assassin 4. This is an absolute beast of a CPU cooler. Now Colin is somewhat of a kind of old school when it comes to PC stuff and was dead against having any form of water cooling. And for longevity and practicality, I think that's actually probably the right choice here. With this particular air cooler, there is very little to go wrong. There is two fans on there, one of which is a 140mm in the middle, and there's another one on the back as well, pushing air out of the back. The only thing with that particular cooler is you do have to be a little bit cautious about the motherboard you're choosing. There is some compatibility issues with VRM heatsinks on some models, so if you are considering getting the Deepcool Assassin 4, go to their website and check out the compatibility list. There are a few boards which aren't compatible. But fortunately in this, when we built it in the live stream, which I should mention actually, there will be a link to the live stream in the video description below. So if you want to see us actually putting together the majority of this stuff, getting the platform ready, etc., then you can certainly check that out. I didn't do a build video as such for the whole thing because we covered a lot of it actually in the live stream, and the last final touches and getting things right was a little bit hit and miss and kind of stop start. So I didn't actually do a video on that, which is why I'm doing this wrap up video. So other parts which are new in this particular build, so the case, as you can see, so this is the Thermaltake Ceres 330 in Snow White edition. I really like the changes they've made to this. It does actually allow for you to use motherboards with the kind of inverted connectors, or the Project Zero as is otherwise known, or BTF as ASUS are calling it, so we can connect the connectors from the back. Now with this particular motherboard, that isn't actually something which is capable of. It's using the traditional method of connecting everything through the front, but either way, this case is absolutely great for that. And surprisingly, we've actually transferred the majority of this stuff into this computer from actually what was in a LAN Cool 3 previously, which is an absolute beast of a case, absolutely huge. So this has compacted it somewhat, but also actually still got extremely good cooling potential. And as you can see, we've also got some Lian Li fans in there. So these are the SL120s. We've got 3 up front. We've also got 3 in the top. And we were going to be putting 1 in the back, but the only other fan we had was an SL140, which actually is a little bit big. So as you can possibly see just from the back there, there's a little bit of a tight squeeze to get another fan in. Potentially if Colin wants to, he can get another SL120 and put it in there just to round it off at the back. But because of the close proximity of that CPU cooler to the back of the case, I probably recommend against it, because at the moment you've got the hot air from the CPU cooler going straight out the back through that ventilation, whereas if you had a fan there, if the fan rotation was maybe on a little bit on the low side, it's actually going to be trapping some of that heat inside the chassis. When it comes to RAM in this particular build, so we've got the Corsair Vengeance RGB DDR5. So this is a 6000 megatransfers per second kit, and is, I think it's CL30, so nice tight timings on there. 64 gigs, 2 sticks of 32 gigs each. Absolutely fantastic, and for Colin's video editing and stuff like that, it's going to be absolutely great. Loads and loads of room to move in there, no problems at all. When it comes to hard drive storage, there's an absolute ton of storage. So there's 7 terabytes of storage. There's a new 4 terabyte drive in there, which is the Lexar, I think it's the NM790. There's also a Sabrent Rocket in there, and also there's a Samsung drive as well, which you're probably going to see from the B-roll from the live stream as well. So yeah, storage wise, no problems there whatsoever. Power-wise, we've got all of this powered up from the Thermaltake Tough Power GF-A3 1050 watt power supply in the Snow Edition with the nice white cables as well, although Colin has chosen to go the little extra mile and use the Lian Li streamers as extensions, and you can see those in the case and they look pretty good. I think lots of RGB going on here, there really is. The operating system is from Colin's previous computer, which was actually, I think it was a 10900K. So I actually just took out the M.2 drive, stuck it in the new board, and it booted up, installed the drivers, and it's actually been absolutely fine. Intel to Intel generally goes okay. When you're doing cross-platform things, sometimes you can go a little bit awry, but actually this seems to be absolutely fantastic, so no issues there. And when it comes to graphics, we've got the MSI RTX 3060 12GB. This is the Gaming X Trio or Gaming Z Trio. I always get those two confused, but that looks really nice in there. Again, Colin likes his RGB, so that all matches up nicely. And we're using the L-Connect software from Lian Li to synchronize everything up there. And I think it's done actually a pretty decent job. Personally, for me, I would have liked to have gone with MSI Center, but it seems that it's all working, so best left alone if it works, just don't touch it. So I suppose we should discuss how the build actually went, and actually building in this case, the Series 330, first time I've really done it, other than using the Series 300, which is kind of the same thing anyway. I actually really like how this thing all goes together, everything is nice and easy to access. The only thing I would have liked to have seen on this was possibly a swing out side glass, rather than being on thumb screws. That is a little bit of a shame, but certainly I think once it's all built, it makes no real difference anyway. But yeah, I think it's a very nice PC, very nice proportions as well, considering the amount of power which is actually inside this. And of course, there's still more room, so if you want to upgrade to something like an RTX 4080 Super at a later date, which potentially might be on Colin's roadmap going ahead, then that's going to fit in there easily. And of course, with the power supply, that Thermaltake A3 1050 watt, that's PCI Express Gen 5 compatible out of the box, so there is going to be that special cable, the 12+4 connection, to allow that extra wattage to go through, although I think Colin might still want to use his streamers in some way, shape or form. But anyway, overall, great build. Temperatures, as you'd expect with a cooler like this, when it's idling, I think you can just about see on the LCD display, but there's probably some close-ups as well. It's somewhere around the sort of 28 degrees Celsius, which is absolutely fantastic. Although I have said this before, the Intel 13900K actually does sit power. When it's just idling, sit on the desktop, those efficiency cores take over, and you can be at somewhere like 3 or 4 watts for the CPU, which is a bit unheard of for AMD. Whereas under load is a slightly different matter, so we have tweaked this a little bit and tuned it, and I think we're around about the 260 watts under a Cinebench load, and at that we're just scoring just slightly shy of 39,000 points. I have tweaked it and tuned it a little bit and got over that, closer to the 40,000, but I think for the sake of the cooler and for longevity, putting a slight restriction on the CPU is going to be beneficial in the long run. There's no point of actually consuming all that wattage just to get a great Cinebench score. Maybe for bragging rights, yes, but for long-term consumption, I don't think it's a great idea. So overall, building in this case, absolutely fine. I was a little bit concerned actually with all these things like the streamers and the extra control panels from the Lian Li and all that kind of stuff. I was a little bit concerned trying to get it all to squeeze in there, but as you can probably see from the B-roll, and we've got it kind of stripped down so you can see the wiring. The wiring isn't the neatest, it could be neater, but I think it's going to be one of those things that potentially it might evolve slightly. Colin's going to be coming down to visit to pick up the PC, so we might go through a few things then. There might be some tweaks and changes, so I didn't want to hardwire everything in too much, but certainly I think it's actually quite tidy considering what we've got going on in there. But what I think about it isn't important, what you think about it is. So sign off in the comments section below. What do you think of this build? Do you like it? Is it the sort of thing you would go for? What do you think of the Lian Li streamers? And also, what do you think of the Thermaltake Ceres range of cases? Do you like the 300, the 330 or the 500? Are those the sort of cases you'll go for, or do you like something else? Let us know. I'd be very interested to hear your thoughts. But I think to wrap up, I'd like to say thank you to Colin for allowing me to build this for him, put it all together, and also to show you guys what has happened in that process. It's been a little bit stressful, quite enjoyable, and hopefully Colin's pleased with his new build, and hopefully he'll comment on the video below and let you know how he feels about it. So there you go, I think that pretty much wraps this one up. Hopefully you've enjoyed it. If you have, smash that like button. If you want to see more content of this on a daily basis, hit subscribe and the chime notification, that way you'll be notified of future video releases. But for now, I've been Mike, this is Mike's Unboxing Reviews and How To, and hopefully we'll catch you in the very next video. Thanks for watching.